Okay, good evening. This is the City Council meeting, closed session for June 4th, 2024, and we will open the meeting at 5:31. And can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember White?
Here.
Councilmember Voigt?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Here.
Mayor Finn?
Here. Do we have any public comments for items on closed session?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pinckney, can you read our item for discussion?
Yes, the item that will be discussed in closed session is item B1, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, potential initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4 involving one potential matter, and that is a potential dispute with Riverside County Fire. And I believe that we have one recusal on this item.
Yes, that's correct. I will be recusing myself from this item as my spouse works for this entity.
All right, thank you, and we will adjourn at 5:32.
No.
All right, good evening, everybody, and thank you for your patience. Tonight is our city council meeting for June 4th, and we will call the meeting to order at 6:25. And can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember White?
Here.
Councilmember Voigt?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Here.
Mayor Finn?
Here, thank you. And can we get, Mr. Pinckney, can we get a report out of closed session?
Yes, the council met in closed session. Item B1 was conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, potential initiation of litigation. There was no reportable action taken in closed session.
All right, thank you. Do we have any upcoming excused absences or anything? No? Okay, we will officially open our meeting with an invocation by Jeremy McAllister.
Hey, now we can do it. Let's pray. Hey, Father, thank you for this day, for these incredible people that run this lovely city. I pray over them the prayer of Solomon, who, when asked by God for anything in the world, asked for wisdom. But he didn't ask for wisdom so he could be smart like a university professor or a biologist. He asked for wisdom to lead your people. It says this in 1 Kings, give me an understanding heart, so that I can govern your people well, know the difference between right and wrong, for who by himself is able to govern this great people. Father, I pray that over these people now, that you would give them wisdom to lead, to know right and wrong, and to lead us. I thank you so much. In Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, and Councilmember White will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, gentlemen. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda? Okay, seeing none. Any conflicts of interest? Okay, none. And on to our public comment. Do we have any public comments for any items that are not on tonight's agenda?
Yes, I have 2 in person.
Okay, and just a reminder, what we have written in our agendas, we have a 3-minute time limit for that.
First speaker is Jolene Hopkins.
Hi, everyone. I just had more of a question. I had been made aware that we have a project for the sidewalks, and I'm super excited, and my mom is very excited that we're going to be going through getting that. And we just wanted to ask if there was a calendar to what projects were going to be done. I think I heard on the video that was posted that it was going to start with Chestnut and then Euclid and so forth. And just basically wanted to ask about the timeline on what streets were going to be done when.
All right, I appreciate your comment. So we're not officially allowed to respond to anything that's not on the agenda.
Okay.
But Robert Vestal is our Public Works Director, and we'll make sure that information gets out to you.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor, I think staff can respond.
Yes, you can
Oh,
make
okay.
a brief response. It can't turn into a discussion item on the topic, but you can have a brief response.
Gotcha, I
if
appreciate
staff's
that.
able to do that.
Robert, you got anything off the top of your head you can respond to on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So due to funding, that project was pared down to just Massachusetts Road only. And then in subsequent years, we'll knock out the other streets that the lady had mentioned.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then our other comment, Nicole?
Next speaker is Fire Chief Hopkins.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Over the past 2 years, the council has made significant strides in enhancing public safety, particularly in strengthening our fire services. The recent acquisition of a new ladder truck, a new squad, and the new Fire Station 106 are just a few examples of these advancements. I just want to say on behalf of CAL FIRE, Riverside County Fire, Chief Weiser, myself as your fire chief, and also as a citizen of Beaumont, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude for what you've done. Thank you for the foresight and commitment to the safety of our community. Your progressive approach and provision of necessary resources enable us to protect Beaumont citizens effectively. The support from the council and the city staff has fostered a great working environment and a community spirit. I would also like to express a special thanks to city staff, to Robert Vestal, Vince Lopez, Nicole Wheelwright, Julie Van Hook, Shannon Doyle, Doug Story and his team, Chief DeLees, and City Manager Elizabeth Gibbs. I'm sure I'm missing a few, so I apologize if I'm missing anyone. Their relentless efforts in bringing the new fire station to fruition have resulted in a beautiful facility that will benefit our community for many years to come. Thank you again for your unwavering support and dedication. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Nicole, do we have any other comments?
Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right, thank you. So under our consent calendar, do we have any items to be pulled for discussion?
Wanted to make a comment on, we don't need to pull it, but item G9, which is, I just wanted to clarify, this is the second reading of the ordinance approving the development agreement, but it's also, you're going to be voting on the other items listed in the recommended action. The ordinance has to come back for a second reading, and that's why it's on the agenda tonight. My recollection is you voted on the other items and approved them at the last meeting, but we've included it in the packet again tonight, so we'll approve it a second time. But it was, my recollection, approved at the last meeting. And I think Mr. Vestal had some clarification on an item as well.
Sure, if I may, I'd like to bring council's attention to the exhibit on your desk. It's also available to the public. This is an exhibit prepared by the applicant just to illustrate the general constraints of the widening of 4th Street near Potrero. So this just goes in hand with the language in the DA that was added at last council.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, and so any items to be pulled? Okay, seeing none. And do we have any public comments?
Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have a caller for G9.
Okay. Go ahead and send it through. Caller, can you hear us?
Yes, this is Ron Roy, Fairway Canyon.
Go right ahead.
Yes, if this council tries too hard to frame issues to their liking without listening and adjusting to the wishes of their constituents, it will disconnect with the people and end up creating and living in a council universe, a belief bubble, largely reshaped by developers that's out of touch with the people's daily lives, fears, health, and their wishes for the community. That's what's happening with this project. Council has tried to frame their position with numerous statements that ring hollow with residents. Show and discuss maps of all existing and proposed warehouses in the city and its SOIs. Show actual sales tax budget tables, letters from our supervisor, and seek alternative analysis. Since the council does not live near the project, they will not experience the visual blight and 24/7 truck traffic nightmares like my surrounding neighborhoods. Where is the council's resolve to get more for their residents? The developers' conceptual land use plan and building layouts have not changed for the last 4 years, except for a slight road widening. That's it. If the council is going to sell its bucolic character, its natural areas, its soul for money, at least it should be compensated handsomely for it. Here's where the council needs to do more. 1, get larger developer fees. CFD fees. This is a spec build with other people's money. The LLC is not committing money until after it receives its lease revenue. Developers already stated he cannot promise sales tax generators such as fulfillment centers. What if the council is 0 for 6 for fulfillment when the 6 warehouses are built. The city will be heavily exposed without sales tax revenue. At $19.58 per square foot rent for warehouses, the developer stands to make over $1.2 billion per year for the 5 million square foot leases. The city needs public facilities. $250,000 per year is not going to cut it. But a 2.5% CFD fee can generate $29 million per year and will get our much needed public facilities sooner than later. 2, set a cap on building sizes like Calamasa does. 3, set the buildings farther back into the hillsides from SR60 and sensitive receptors, for example, at least 200 feet more, and then compare to 2019 layout. 4, orient dock doors, truck driveways, and truck parking towards the hillsides, not SR60. 5, reduce floor area ratios to 60% and remove the 700,000 square foot building in PA6. This reduces the negative visual impact, allows for superior fire access loops, and an aerial evacuation site or a fire station. Finally, I'm asking the council to record a valid notice of determination.
Mr. Roy, you're 3 minutes.
Okay, only if an affirmative vote is taken after the second reading, not the first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roy.
Rudy, do we have any other callers on the line for consent?
I have no other callers on the line.
All right, thank you. With that, I'd like to pull G9 for discussion. And do we have a motion for any of the others or any other to be pulled? Last call? Okay,
Mayor, I'll make a,
go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve G1 through G8 and G10 and 11.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, thank you. And so since I pulled G9, I'll go ahead and start. I just wanted to address a couple of comments that were made from our caller. One is we have our development impact fee, as DIF as it's affectionately known as. We have those fees under discussion and will be brought back at a future council meeting. And if there are any increases to those, they will be paid by the developer at the time that the developer pulls permits for buildings. And so those will be, when any higher increase would be in place at the time that that happens. And then in reference to our CFDs, we do have a CFD assigned to that project. And just to the best of my knowledge, that any funds that are collected to that, collected related to that need to be appropriate for the amount of services that are covered for that. And so we believe we fully vetted the CFD amount for that project. So I just wanted to make a couple comments to that. Are there any other comments or discussions from council? Mr. White, your light's on?
Yes. I did want to respond also to the comments made. We do have a CFD. It does have a 2% escalator. There's no way, it's impossible to create a CFD that's going to generate $29 million a year. So I don't know where that number came from. And then we've had comments from the same gentleman that we are not holding enough town hall meetings. We have 2 full planning commission meetings that are on YouTube. I think a total of probably 8 to 10 hours. We have a council meeting we have 2 council meetings that are probably another 6 or 7 hours, all been on YouTube. They're all still there. So I think that we've really done the best that we can with this project. And I think we've done a good job for the city. So I just wanted to sort of respond to some of those.
All right, thank you, Mr. White. Any others or a motion? Mr. Martinez, I can't see your light, so I'm not sure. And I can see you're in deep thought down there.
Well, we had a email that was forwarded to us by the DCM that I was just reviewing at this time. It's from one of the residents that have already called in about the G9 topic. And so I was just reviewing it to see if there's anything else. The only comment I'll make on that is that the email refers to, again, infrastructure coming after a project's built, and she asks, where are you going to get the money from? And I think we've addressed that that the whole idea of having these projects approved is so they can contribute monetarily so that we can help build the infrastructure. So it goes back to the statement once again about trying to build infrastructure before the project's there, which is, it makes sense, and that would be the logical thing to do. But again, who's going to pay for that? And when you have infrastructure that's so expensive, obviously we can't pull that out of our city funds, so we need input from that, and that's where the contributions come from, the community benefit fee and so forth. So I just wanted to remind her about that it is unfortunate that sometimes we do have to approve something before the infrastructure is 100% there, but it is so that some of that contribution can go towards that. So I just wanted to add that comment. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mayor, I'll move to approve item G9.
Are you moving the recommended action that's in the staff report?
Yes,
Okay.
moving recommended
Yes.
action for G9.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, thank you. On to item H. Mr. Martinez, I know we had, talking about senioritis last time, but do we have any kind of a youth council report?
Well, we did get a member of youth council to come with us at the Cherry Festival Parade, so I thank Ava Garcia for that, and she is going to be volunteering this summer as well. So we are in heavy gear on our recruitment, and so I'll have you more update closer to that. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, sir. And on to item I, our public hearings. Item I1, public hearing for the fiscal year 2024 to 2025, adoption of GAN limit, citywide budget, and 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2025 through 2029. And we have a staff report by our finance director, Jennifer Eustachian.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you this evening is the adoption of the city's fiscal year 25 GAN limit, the adoption of the fiscal year 25 citywide budget, and the adoption of the fiscal year 25 5-year capital improvement plan. The GAN limit is a state requirement adopted in 1979 and amended in 1990, and the appropriations limit takes actual appropriations during the 1978-79 fiscal year and increased each year using the growth of population and inflation. Not all revenues are restricted by the appropriation limit, only those that are referred to as proceeds of taxes. The appropriations limit for fiscal year 25 is $130,919,921, which is well above the identified proceeds of taxes at $49,070,416. Staff are also presenting to you this evening for the adoption of the fiscal year 25 budget, which is balanced, with general fund revenues of $68.1 million, exceeding expenditures of $66.7 million, leaving $1.3 million unprogrammed. The wastewater and transit operating funds are balanced with revenues and expenditures at $14.8 million and $3.2 million respectively. The city prepares a program budget, which is a system that describes and gives the cost of every program that is to be carried out with the given budget. A program budget is meaningful to the council and public because programs are directly relevant to how they experience public services. Attached to your packets this evening is a summary of the city's programs and the funding sources that are used to fund them. This provides transparency in how revenues are utilized to provide services for the city. And in your packets, you will also find the schedule of personnel changes. 6.5 new positions and 10 part-time seasonal positions were added to the general fund, and a reclass of 1 position. Also added was a police officer funded by SLESA. Transit fund added 1 new full-time position and 2 part-time positions. The 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2025 through 2029 is also before you this evening. The CIP plans for $62.9 million of city investment in capital projects over the 5 years, with $34 million in fiscal year 25. For fiscal year 25, $6.1 million funding is provided from the general fund, including $5 million towards the Potrero Interchange project, which has been rated as a high priority project. Other funds included in the citywide budget are used for special purposes, and a majority of these funds are transferred into either the general fund for programs or the capital projects fund for identified projects. And a schedule of these transfers has been attached to your packet as well, including budget reports for all of the funds. With that, that concludes my reports, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, and do we have any, I'm sorry, we will open the public hearing at 6:44, and do we have any public comments?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing, at 6:45. And then we'll move this to council discussion. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay, we don't see any. We talked about this previously in detail and had a workshop on it as well, and we appreciate the staff report and all the additional information. So if we don't have any comments or questions from council, do we have a motion?
Sure, Mayor. I will move to the recommended action to hold a public hearing and waive the full reading and adopt by title only a resolution of the City Council of the City of Beaumont approving the appropriation limit for the 24-25 fiscal year. Additionally, waiving the full reading and adopt by title only resolution of the City Council of the City of Beaumont, California, adopting an operating budget of expenditures for the period of July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, and waive the full reading and adopt by title only a resolution of the City Council of the City of Beaumont, adopting a 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2025 through 2029.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, thank you. Okay, on to item, that was a mouthful on there.
Yes, and I should just say
As stated.
Oh, Lloyd's approach, yes, that's it.
All right, so we're on to item J1, agreement for environmental consulting services for the Cherry Channel Drainage Project. We have a staff report by Mr. Vincent Lopez. Good to have you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. By way of background, the Cherry Channel Drainage Project is an earthen channel located adjacently east of the Cherry Avenue between Cougar Way and Oak Valley Parkway. The channel is currently lined with a turfed, reinforced geomat along the slopes and bottoms of the channel. The geomat is currently in very poor condition and as a result has increased maintenance costs for the city. The city is seeking to reduce these maintenance costs by lining the channel with concrete. On October 20th, 2023, the City Council awarded an agreement to EXP to design the construction plans for the concrete lined channel. The plans are currently in 30% completed, pending the information on the environmental. On February 12th, 2024, the city advertised the RFP and began soliciting proposals. On March 28th, 2024, the city closed the solicitation and received 9 proposals from interested consultants to prepare the initial study mitigating negative declaration. The proposals were evaluated and ranked based on score. The cost proposal for the top ranked score was open, but was not considered because the cost of that proposal exceeded the city's budget for this task. So the staff proceeded with opening the second proposal from the Chambers Group, and upon review of that proposal, staff also met with the Chambers Group to negotiate some of the scope of services and the fees as well. And on May 3rd, 2024, the Chambers Group submitted a revised scope of services and cost proposal that better aligns with the city's budget for this environmental process. Their cost proposal is $164,566 and includes optional items that may be needed pending the results of some of the environmental investigations. Funding for this task has been allocated from the project budget. So with that, staff is recommending that the City Council award a professional services agreement to the Chambers Group for environmental consulting services for the Cherry Channel Drainage Project for an amount not to exceed $164,566. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, awesome. Thank you, sir. Any public comments?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right, thank you. Any comments or questions from council? Mr. White?
Yeah, just a understanding. I don't think I've seen this before where we've opened a bid and the top ranked one was overpriced. So when you do the ranking, is price part of the ranking, or is it everything else but price?
It usually is not, but it also has to kind of align with the city's budget, kind of.
Okay.
So the way it's supposed to be done, you rank the proposals, right, without opening the cost proposals.
Okay.
And then you score them based on the evaluation committee's score. And then the top ranked firm, that's the cost proposal that you'll open first.
Okay.
And then you review that cost proposal, and depending if it aligns with the city's budget, then if it does, then you proceed with a top ranked firm.
So you go down the line until you
Correct.
find one. So
Yes.
the second one was Chambers Group.
Correct.
And theirs was aligned with our budget then. But you
was.
had to do some.
It was in the range, but then staff scheduled a meeting to negotiate some of the scope of services and also some of the fees that they had.
Okay.
So they brought some of those fees down to better align with the city's budget.
Okay, that's all I was
This
looking
is a
for.
professional services agreement, so
Correct.
the public contract code requires low bid. Professional services are negotiable.
Say that last sentence again, professional.
Professional services are negotiable.
Okay.
Public
got it.
works bids are not.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments? Mayor Pro Tem?
If there are no more comments, I was prepared to make a motion.
Sure.
Are we good?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to award professional service agreement to Doken Engineering to provide professional engineering services to complete, am I in the right one?
Nope.
Oh, jumped ahead. I was just testing to see if you're all paid attention. Now for the real one, I will make motion is to award professional service agreement to the Chambers Group for environmental consulting services for the Cherry Channel Drainage Project in an amount not to exceed $164,566.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, thank you. Okay, on to item J2, agreement for professional engineering services for the I-10 and Oak Valley Parkway interchange. And our staff report by Mr. Robert Vestal.
Thank you, Mayor. So prior to discussing the contract, I'd like to take a few minutes just to discuss the process of Caltrans so that we all have a clear understanding of what this project will entail. You also have a copy of this presentation before you, some larger than others. So Caltrans has several project development steps. The four shown on the screen and in your presentation packet are the major phases and categorically illustrate the project's development. As shown, the four phases are Project Initiation Document, PID, Project Approval and Environmental Document, PAED, Project Design, also known as Plans, Specification, and Estimate, and then Construction. Obviously, these are reduced. There are quite a few steps on each one of these. So taking the PID process documents the project scope and allows funds to be programmed for future phases. As part of the PID, if the project is locally sponsored, a project study report, a PSR, or project study report, project development support is developed that includes a preliminary environmental assessment report, or PAIR, a traffic performance, engineering performance assessment, a TEPA, stormwater data report, SWDR. In addition, a risk register, design scoping, and conceptual cost estimates are prepared. This stage of the process programs funding for the PAED phase. This stage of the process typically ranges from 18 to 24 months in length. Once you've successfully completed the PID stage, you're ready for the PAED stage of the Caltrans project development process. And this documents alternatives under consideration, including supporting engineering reports, discloses environmental impacts and mitigation measures. This stage includes more detailed study to determine design exceptions, more detailed cost estimating, advanced planning studies for structures, preliminary geotechnical studies, a traffic operation analyst report or a TOR, preliminary drainage report, right-of-way impacts, engineering features of alternatives, and identified a preferred alternative is established and approved, including any necessary design exceptions. In addition, required environmental documentation. That CEQA NEPA is finalized with the Project Mitigation and Monitoring Plan, MMP. Caltrans is typically the lead agency for CEQA and NEPA, and the environmental documentation is prepared through Caltrans unless improvements extend beyond Caltrans' system. This stage of the process typically ranges from 18 to 36 months in length. If you're lucky enough to make it past that, you've entered the design phase, which is plans, specifications, and estimates. During the project design phase, plans, specification, and estimates are prepared to design the improvements consistent with Caltrans standards, identify supplemental technical specification and estimate quantities and values for all items of work, the construction document, and enable right-of-way purchase, utility relocation, and allow for bid packages to be issued. This is currently where Potrero is at the 95% phase. If the project is locally administered, construction is approved through the issuance of an encroachment permit for the project area. This stage of the process typically ranges from 18 to 36 months in length. Finally, the final stage of the project development process is establishing a construction contract and implementing the designed improvements. This stage of the process typically ranges from 12 to 36 months in length. And then just to recap, it's a long process. I just want to be clear, it could be as quick as 6 years, but it won't be. It'll be 11 years or more. If we beat 11 years, that is a successful project. If we come in at 11 years, we've met our performance quota. Since we already have the PID on this phase, that does eliminate a few years off of that 11 target. So making it more project specific to the Oak Valley interchange, the project study report was approved in 2009. It proposed 4 alternatives. Alternative 1 is a no build, which is exactly what it sounds like. We don't do anything. Alternative 2A and 2B propose a modified partial cloverleaf intersection with minor differences between the 2A and 2B. Alternative 3 maintains the existing diamond pattern while widening those infrastructure or improvements. Alternative 4 is very similar to Alternative 2, but it reroutes desert lawn on the south side of the railroad, which is realistically infeasible. You'd have to cross the railroad in 2 different locations. So out of those alternatives, only 2A and 2B were plausible. 2B is shown on the screen. During the PAED phase, the alternatives will be reevaluated and could be updated to include additional alternatives, including more contemporary intersection designs. And then specific for this contract, I do have a lot of dates on there. There is substantially more information in the staff report. So this is really just a summary of this contract. So during the bidding process, staff followed Caltrans' local assistance procedure manual during the bid process, interviews, and negotiation. Staff also included Caltrans for the bid evaluations and the interview. Dawkins was the second highest ranked firm. Staff was not successful in negotiations with the top ranked firm. In accordance with the local procedure manual, the firm was disqualified from consideration. That is exactly what Vince had just stated. We reviewed the proposals independent of the cost. And then when we selected the top ranked, we opened the cost and it was magnitudes outside of our budget. So we tried to negotiate with that firm and it ended in an unsuccessful negotiation. So at that time, we engaged Dawkins. We were successful in negotiating a fair contract for the city. And Dawkins Engineering was almost equal in rank, so it's not like we're getting the second place team. They were almost identical. So staff has full confidence in their ability to deliver the project on time and on budget. Funding for this phase is provided by a TUMF credit agreement with Tri-Party Homes. During the PAED phase, City Council will have the opportunity to recommend a city-preferred alternative. We will bring this project back to you several times to give you not only a status update, but your input on the design. With that, staff is recommending awarding the PAED contract to Dawkins Engineering. This concludes my presentation. There is a representative, Mark, from Dawkins Engineering that is available for questions or discussion.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Do we have any public comments?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right, thank you. I'll go first. With the map that was given to us here for the that shows the PA and ED phase award on the bottom left. This is the particular design that they're going to work on as for the solution, correct?
We'll be evaluating. Excuse me, I'm Mark Terrell with
Hi,
Dawkins
Mark.
Engineering. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. But we'll be looking at the alternatives, revisiting the alternatives that were studied, and I think there's a few that stand out that will be moving forward and doing a full alternatives analysis. And then the goal of the environmental process is to build consensus and have one preferred alternative that will get approved and moved into the PS&E process.
Okay, very good. And then I see on the, I'm going to call it the northeast side of the freeway, where that looks like the design is going to be within the existing, ramps that are there. But on the southwest side, we're encroaching further away from the existing ramps. Are we looking at any potential eminent domain that's needed for that?
No, not at this time. I mean, we are very early in our right-of-way analysis, and these are more graphical in nature than anything else.
All right. Okay.
There will be opportunity to acquire right-of-way. I don't know what that looks like yet. As I previously said, we're fairly early. The intent would be the city to negotiate and obtain that mutually through the whomever owns that.
Okay. And then the existing space between the existing ramps and the freeway itself, that is owned and maintained by the city? Am I correct? Or is it, so for example, when we look at the right side of the right-hand side of the freeway where we have the westbound off-ramp and the westbound on-ramp, the land between those ramps and the freeway, who's responsible for that?
Oh, that would be Caltrans.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
anything within the intersection proper would be maintained by Caltrans.
Okay, so then am I correct in then assuming, should a new design happen, then that we'd probably be redoing the landscape in between those, so it's not left as just empty dirt and weeds, and, because as it stands right now, we have a mud problem on that westbound on-ramp, where trucks will park and even get stuck and, that sort of stuff. So I'd imagine when it's all done that we have a proper solution there, that it's not just going to be left unattended, correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
That's correct. There'll be landscaping plans done, landscaping design. A lot of times those areas can be used for stormwater treatment between the freeway and the ramps, but they're designed as a maintained basin with landscape that'll be maintained.
Okay, very good. Okay, another council members, Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, a couple of questions. One, am I correct that the both or all plans will consider 2 lanes in each direction going over the freeway? Is that the way I'm reading it?
Excuse me, I turned it off. Yeah, at this time, it's anticipated to be 1, 2, 3, 6. 6 lanes.
Okay, 6.
However, that's subject to change, so I don't want that number, to be held
2 right now.
Yeah.
Now, it's considered a Caltrans project. Is Caltrans considered the lead? Where does that lead title come in when we start saying takes the lead and so forth?
Yeah, so the city is the lead on this project. Caltrans will be the lead for the environmental, and I'll let Mark adjust that. I'm not a Caltrans expert.
Yeah, well, the city is the project proponent and the lead on the project, but since it's in Caltrans right away, the majority of the project, they have jurisdiction over it. So we kind of work hand in hand with Caltrans throughout the process. Caltrans will have the environmental document approval, but the city would be referred to as the lead agency.
And they'll have final approval on the design, I'm assuming? With negotiation between?
It's both the city and Caltrans. Since it's in their right of way, they really have the final say on geometrics and the roadway configuration, but it's a process where the city is involved throughout. There's project development team meetings, with city representatives and Caltrans representatives to come up with the preferred alternative.
Okay, and my last question, utilizing my newly given visual aid, I just want to show that, so when I first got in council, I've been on for 7 years now, a lot of people ask, what's the most frustrating part of your job? And one of them is how slow things take to get done. So I want to show the public one more time that the length of time, we're way over here. This is way over here on construction. So where's the camera? So we're looking at many years there. So we're starting now, but when people start seeing things come in and stuff going on, we're in the process of addressing that, but it just take a long time to get through many different sections. And I won't go into all the PAs, EDs, and so forth, because I'll mess it up. But anyway, thank you. That's all I have. Yes, I'm a visual person, so thank you so much.
Thank you,
That's all,
Mr.
Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're currently in the PAED phase, correct? Do I understand?
At the very beginning
At
stage.
the very, or PID, that's the very beginning.
The PID was completed in 2009.
Right,
So
okay.
we are at the very forefront of the PID.
I'm trying to get 2 years on you, okay? So, we're going to be limited to the width of that existing bridge, or is Caltrans taking in, looking at potentially widening that?
Be a bridge replacement.
Oh, it would be a bridge replacement, okay. Any possibility of looking at divergent intersection over that, or is that something that we'll be considering as well?
I'm not sure if that was considered in the PID phase, but it certainly can be considered as an alternative.
Robert, you indicated that WRCOG has given us, how much have they given us towards this?
It wouldn't be WRCOG in this. They identified it as a TUMP facility.
TUMP
and then,
facility, I'm sorry.
Tri-Point Homes has used a credit agreement to give the city 6 million and some change. I don't know the exact amount.
Okay. And that kind of just, what I want folks to try to understand is Tri-Point, the developer, through TUMP, has given us 6.1 to design this. We're in the design phase. What is the estimated cost to complete the project?
Since we don't know the exact configuration, all we have are guesstimates. I am on the low side, I think 125 million, but I think Mark would have a better guesstimate.
Yeah, I would think that's on the high side at this point, but I would venture to sit around 100 million to.
And that's close enough because that much money, the city doesn't have $125 million to do this project. This project will be done with ideally, hopefully, some federal funds, ideally some state funds, and developer funds. And it's not going to be one developer, it's going to be multiple projects. It's the only way that something like this gets funded because we're talking about $125 million. I don't know of any project, at least in my short tenure term, that, where we've gotten over 50 million for one project. So these are projects, when it talks about developer paying their fair share, unfortunately, one developer won't pony up $125 million. So it'll take several developers, state funding, federal funding, to complete a project like this. Desperately needed. It is infrastructure. We are looking ahead as best as we can. But these projects are not cheap by any means. And I think over the last 5 years, inflationary costs have really put a couple of our projects over budget, where we had to look for additional funding, such as we did with Potrero. We had a developer give us recently $3 million. So it's things like this that take time. The city does not have, unfortunately, an unending budget and multiple millions of dollars or hundreds of millions to put into projects like this. So just wanted to try to clarify some of the things that we are working on, and we are trying to make sure that they get done in a timely manner. 11 years, no sooner. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. White.
So doing my math, you're 6 months into this phase, right? So we're down to maybe 30 months on this one.
Okay.
Your microphone went out.
You answered my question about the Tri-Point funding. So we have another, this is, you had in your report said it's funding this phase, but it's funding this phase plus
That's correct.
some into the next phase. When do we decide, where in the time frame do we decide what option we're going with? Is that is that after your guys' work is done or while your work is being done?
While our work's being done, we'll initially start out by doing the engineering studies, the bioenvironmental tech studies for the area that analyze several alternatives. And through that process, we'll evaluate the alternatives, screen them, working with the city and Caltrans, as well as the area stakeholders to come up with a preferred alternative that will ultimately be what's circulated in the final environmental document. And at the end of this phase, which will still be under contract, that environmental document will be approved, and then you have your project.
Okay. I think that's all I had. Thank you.
So I've got another question. So if this potentially ends up turning into a 6-lane bridge, do we have to have a separate CIP or a separate project for for Oak Valley Parkway widening the road as well to accommodate that, right? And then how far out does that go? Because the road's 4 lanes right now, and obviously that would be adding more to it.
Right, so as part of this project, there will be a portion of Oak Valley Parkway widened both on the east and west of the interchange. Oak Valley Parkway does have the current capacity to have 6 lanes. In fact, it's only at the, I'm trying to orient myself on directions, but it's only on the southwest side that bottlenecks into an area that can't support 6 lanes.
Okay. And then do we expect staff to be able to see this project through? And I'll use the example of the Potrero ramps where RCTC stepped in and we let them take the lead on that. Do we foresee something like that further down the road, or do we have the technical expertise to see this through?
Sure.
Or staff time too?
Yeah, I think in the early phases, staff is adequate to, with the help of a consultant, push this through. There will be a time where staff will have to lean more and more on either a consultant or RCTC. And RCTC is the powerhouse when it comes to, getting intersections designed and done.
Okay, very good. Any other comments? Mr. White?
The Beaumont Point project, is any of that, of their fees going to fund?
No, not directly. There may be an opportunity to use future DIF funds that Beaumont Point will presumably be contributing to for this project.
Okay.
But certainly not in the magnitude of, $100 million.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Just one question. Do we know if this is on RCTC's radar?
I believe it is on their radar, but I'm not sure to what capacity it would be. They're not engaged in this. I think that they're just aware that this project is occurring, and particularly in this corridor, they're aware of all of these projects, you know, together.
Isn't it listed in their traffic relief plan? Am I the right agency when I'm talking about that?
Sorry, it is RCTC's traffic relief plan, but I don't recall if Oak Valley Parkway is.
No, if you don't mind, I can
Oh, go right ahead. Thank you.
respond to some of this. They are very close, very soon to start focusing on Beaumont Avenue, but we haven't talked about Oak Valley before. So I would imagine, and Beaumont Avenue is in the traffic relief plan. So the Beaumont Avenue interchange is on their radar, but this one probably is not at this point.
Anything else?
No, I'll make a motion when you're ready.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Right, so if there's no further discussion, I'd like to make a motion to award a professional services agreement, PSA, to Dockin Engineering to provide professional engineering services to complete the PAED phase of the I-10 and Oak Valley Parkway Interchange Project in the amount of $1,989,526, and authorize the city manager to approve up to a 10% contingency of $199,000 for unforeseeable new Caltrans requirements during the PAED phase, for a total amount not to exceed $2,188,526.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, thank you. On to item K, legislative updates and discussion. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. As of June 3rd, there are still approximately 1,600 pieces of legislation making their way through the process. The deadline for bills to pass out of both houses both their houses of origin was May 28th. So with that, they now have until August 31st to get through both the houses and any committees that they're in and whatnot, if they're going to make it onto the governor's desk for consideration. With that, a couple of items that we have been watching, SB 1494, which was the Glacier bill that was going to eliminate the ability for cities to enter into tax sharing agreements, is not active anymore. It's been placed into suspense. So it doesn't mean that it would, or actually it's inactive, so it doesn't mean it can't come back, but it will not be proceeding for this legislative year. Another one that we have talked about periodically is AB 1999, which is related to the CPUC fee that was going to be attached onto bills for residential users. And AB 1999 was placed into suspense, so that bill is dead. And at this time, the CPUC has put out a bulletin or memo, which I believe some of you may have received, which basically says at this time they're looking to just reallocate some of the current fees that they're collecting already on the bills and reallocate those towards infrastructure. So we will see what happens with AB 1999 when the fall comes back around, if we see that come back to life in its current form or in some additional form.
All right, thank you. A question for you on the SB 1494, the tax share. Is that the one where it's the point of sale tax or?
No,
Okay.
no. So this would have affected more cities like us who have a revenue sharing with, like, say, Wolverine, or other
gotcha.
cities who have, some of the bigger cities is more popular. They do revenue sharing with some of their retail or, users that have a point of sale. We don't like it just because it takes away local control and the city's ability to facilitate economic development in general, but it is dead. We have not seen the bill that you're referring to make it through either.
Okay.
So I will double check with our state lobbyist if it's suspense or if it's completely dead, or if we may see it come back again in the fall session. And then one last bill to highlight that is still active, SB 1164, which is related to ADUs. And essentially, this bill would exempt exempt ADUs from property tax. So it is currently in the revenue and taxation bill as of today. And we're working with our PPG to monitor. And again, this is something would fit within our legislative platform to weigh in on. And we will be.
So is that to the point of somebody builds an ADU and they do not reassess the property for that additional value to that?
Correct.
Wow, okay.
The information we have says ADUs on average at about $150,000 in value to the property, which equates down to us about $1,500, I think, is what we would get. So, or actually $150 annual property tax, $1,500 would be
Collected.
to the original taxing
Yeah.
entity. Yeah. So anyway, but we've got double digits worth of ADUs in through the city this year. So we've seen quite the uptick relative to what we had a couple years ago.
They're proposing a 10-year cap, correct?
Yeah, through actually 5 years, so through 2030.
So that means they would not collect any on that up to that point, then therefore they could collect after that? Should it pass?
Right. I can't imagine, though, the popularity in not collecting and then turning
And then all
around
of a sudden,
and
yeah.
then collecting. That's not typically how
Get
things
a
work.
big uproar on that.
But yes, as of now, that's it's set from 25 to 30 if it passes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, on our ADU up, have they been using our preformed
I believe they
plans?
have. I actually heard from someone who, I know of one that came in personally and used the
template.
the templates,
Okay.
yeah, the standard plans.
Cool, all right, thanks.
Right, yeah,
All right, thank you, Ms. Taylor.
thank you.
And economic development update, right back at you.
Thank you. So in the staff report, or in the agenda tonight, under consent calendar, was an update on the ICSC event that staff and council attended. So there's a report out in there. We will have our next Economic Development Committee meeting on June 12th, next Wednesday. We will receive at that time, or the committee at that time will also receive the ICSC report out, and they will also be receiving the presentation on the Downtown Beaumont Revitalization Plan, which was presented here at council last meeting.
All right, thank you, and I appreciate that report, the report added in there, so it was nice. Okay, on to city treasurer's report. No, not tonight. All right. And city clerk. Elaine, did you have anything for us? Okay, all right. City attorney.
Nothing to report this evening.
Okay, Ms. Gibbs, city manager report.
Just a few quick announcements. So next Thursday, June 13th, we will kick off our Beaumont Nights at Town Center, Beaumont Avenue, 6th to 8th Street. We have well over 60 vendors.
Very nice.
We started a waiting list and then figured out a way to fit more vendors in, so we'll be adding more vendors. So it is going to be a packed house. We're very excited about it. We will have a report out at the June 18th meeting on the Cherry Festival this past weekend. All went well. Everybody loved the venue, so a lot of positive comments. We did have another train incident Friday night, as you well know. It started roughly around 3:30, 3:45, and ended about 4.5, 5 hours later. We're in communication with UPRR, and we'll do a full memo to council on that. But I did want to announce something that you're going to see June 18th in a presentation from Julie, our PIO. We used a reverse 911 system for the first time. Julie's been implementing that, and the plan was to bring a presentation forward to council. But in the meantime, we had an incident, so we implemented it. It went out to 34,000 phones. There is an opt-in, opt-out. There's some tweaks that we need to do. However, and you'll see the full software, but we are excited about having that on board.
Elizabeth, can I pause you right there?
Sure.
So I received that text. It was great, and it said that there was a blockage at Pennsylvania and it cut off.
That was one of the tweaks that we're working
Okay.
out. So Julie was on the phone with Everbridge.
I mean, I
and-
assumed it was Veely and, and so forth, but the general public won't know. But is there a character limit to that text?
I think we're working through that. There was a character limit that night, right?
Okay.
And, yeah, so those are some of the limitations of it, but it's nice that everybody gets.
It's a fantastic idea.
Avoid the area. We're also going to bring a policy forward to council for adoption when we do the presentation, because we want to make sure that there's clear expectations of when we will use the system and when we won't, and so the public knows. So you'll see that at the next meeting. And then last but not least, I just wanted to announce that you only have 3 council meetings until September. Wow.
Hey. All right, Mr. Martinez, I see your light on.
Yeah, just a quick question on Beaumont Nights. Where can I tell public to, they might want to look for parking? What would be the place to steer them towards?
So we have a couple of options for the public. There's Magnolia Avenue here outside of City Hall, and the city's parking lot. They will be able to walk into Market Night from 7th Street, which will be blocked off 7th at Magnolia. They can visit the, is it the Methodist Church or Presbyterian Church at Euclid, Presbyterian at Euclid and 7th on the other side there, where they've offered their parking lot for parking. And they 7th Street will also be blocked off there as well, so people will be able to walk in from that end. Parking along the curb or the businesses in front of 6th Street on those areas will be available as well, and they'll be able to walk in at 6th and Beaumont up as well into the area.
Did we get an agreement with the bank that was there, or are they going to be using
So
that?
we actually went into the bank yesterday and gave them the information and asked to have a little chit chat about that because we would like to be able to direct people there as well. 8th Street will remain open, so there will be no closure at 8th Street. That'll run, completely through. So any parking in that vicinity, any street parking along the connector streets that are closed will be available just like regular.
Okay, and we haven't heard back from them about.
No, that was just yesterday
Just
afternoon.
yesterday,
Yeah,
okay.
we did another round of walking downtown, and the manager wasn't in, so we left the information and requested a call.
Very well. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. White now.
Regarding the 911 opting in, opting out, if you opt out, because the first time my wife got it, she just opted out, how do you opt back in? She just thought it was some kind of, we get a campaign or whatever.
Hi, Council. So once we take back the formal policy, we'll do formal campaign to the public so that they can opt back in. I
Okay.
think they can go on the Everbridge website, but we'll have a webpage dedicated that'll direct residents and visitors alike. We'll do social media push out too. But I'll work with you directly to make sure she's
Oh, no,
opted back in.
you don't need to work with me directly. I just want to make sure there's a way for
There
people
is.
to come back in. So we can wait while you're up here. The advertising for Beaumont Nights is really good.
Thank you.
Seeing it on the billboards,
Oh, good,
seeing
good.
it everywhere. So just wanted to
Wonderful.
thank you
And
for
the
that.
billboards will change. I've actually, I had some assistance from Ashley Starr. And so every week, as we have a new band, the billboards will be changed too. And so
Very
that'll
cool.
grab some more excitement from the community.
Very nice, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Just really quickly, thank you so much. I really like the reverse 911. So I appreciate that foresight.
Okay, so on to future agenda items. We have a list there. Any changes or additions to that? Mr. White?
Yeah, I have a suggestion. I would like to bring back to council the idea of changing our business incentive program. as opposed to what we have now, which is matching funds for facades and things like that, that we look at a plan to use the money to match permitting fees and funds. You know, if there's a way that a developer comes in and wants to build one of the businesses we're trying to encourage, then if they put, say, $5,000 deposit, we would match that with $5,000, and then once the fees are gone. Again, I'm just brainstorming here, so I'm not suggesting this is the way to go, but some way, because that would take, I think, out the issue with the prevailing wages that is preventing a lot of our businesses from being able to use those funds efficiently. So,
Did you want us to look at this citywide or just specific to downtown?
I think citywide myself, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Citywide, just for permit fees or the whole?
I just for fees, and I said permit just because I don't do fees. I don't.
Okay,
know.
so I'll,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you know, there's a cost for them to get a business up and going, and if we can use that incentive to get them to build here as opposed to, you know, one of our neighbors, I think that would, I'd like to see that.
Okay.
Mr. White, I appreciate that, and so I'd like to add to that, if we can maybe bring that back quickly, with due to our advertising that will be out this summer, you know, and so forth, and our efforts, you know, to bring businesses in, that we can be ready to go, you know, for that. I'd hate to see us drag that out and miss an opportunity that somebody sees from our advertising efforts, you know, and so forth. So if it's possible to bring that back quickly, yeah, I think it would be appreciated. Any others?
I just have one thing. Going back to Beaumont Nights, are we going to have some type of economic development booth out there?
So I believe we will have a city booth. I was going to try and coordinate with community services and the other departments so we don't take up too much booth space with all our departments. Economic, or I should say community development staff will be out there at every event, myself and others, to make sure if people have questions about whether it's market night itself or doing business in the city, that they have a point of contact. But if you want a booth out there for a city booth, we'll make sure that we can.
Yeah, I think it might be a good idea
note
where
it,
we can at
yeah.
least point people, and kind of like we did Gov in the Park, this is bringing it to
we had
people.
talked about kind of morphing Gov in the Park to the
Yeah,
Beaumont
yeah, I
Nights.
think that's perfect. Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And so
Mayor, can I just point out the arborist presentation says June, that will be on the June 18th
Okay,
agenda. WCA will be here to give the presentation.
very nice. Appreciate the update. Thank you.
And we are not having the first one in July, right?
Correct.
Okay.
You'll have your second meeting in July and your second meeting in August.
Okay.
All right, thank you. And so on to council reports. Mr. White, you mind going first?
I have nothing to report.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank Chris and Caden Harwood. They were the drivers of our fire engine for the parade. Parade was well attended. I do appreciate their efforts in making sure our signs were put on the fire truck and stayed on the fire truck. And Nicole, thanks for setting that up for us as well. I attended the WRCOG yesterday. They're getting ready for General Assembly, which is coming up. And also attended RCA. I've got some good news from RCA.
Endangered species back?
They are going to bring the species back by popular demand.
The one I miss.
So just as to give you a little bit of a flavor for that.
Stole my thunder.
It's Batrachoseps aridius.
Oh, my Lord.
This desert slender salamander. It's a salamander with a fairly broad head and long-legged, slender body with a short tail, as opposed to their sister or brother or other members of the family who are chubbier in size, I'd say. But they are bringing the endangered species back. They were also going to talk about some of the properties and how they use those for the species as well. So they were going to switch that up. I just thought that'd be good to know. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Short tails.
Skinny and short tails. Just to report back on Memorial Day, I attended the Desert Lawn Memorial Day celebration, and that was quite nice. And so they were happy to see a representative from Beaumont to be there, so I enjoyed being there. They even had a flyover with a biplane and a World War II plane as well, so it was pretty cool. And then on the 29th, I was able to accompany our city manager and some members of staff. It's a mouthful, the Southwest Riverside County Association of Realtors meeting. And they had, it was a city manager discussion panel with presentations from Marina Valley, Paris, Beaumont, San Jacinto, and Hemet. And of all of those, we have the lowest amount of expected homes to be built. We've had our heyday for a good number of years. Just a general update on that, and numbers obviously could vary. But Marina Valley is planned for 3,500 single-family homes and over 4,000 multifamily homes. Paris, 8,600 approved units. Beaumont's less than 1,000. San Jacinto, 1,574 single-family units that they're working on getting finals for, and they're expecting over 4,500 in the future. And Hemet with 5,000 housing units in the planning process as well. So our neighbors are growing by leaps and bounds. And then also, I think that's probably it for my report. That was the major highlight I wanted to bring up. So with that, on to Ms. White.
I just wanted to comment on the Cherry Festival. I agree. It was an excellent event, something that my family truly enjoyed. So great job for that venue. And thank you to the police department for keeping us safe during that time frame. So we do appreciate that. And I had a great time at the parade as well. A lot of fun.
All right, thank you. Mr. Martinez, you can close us out.
Yep, just great time at the parade. I enjoyed being on the fire truck, hanging off the back. I did not fall, thank you. The Cherry Festival was well done. I do compliment everyone involved with that. I've had a lot of people give us compliments on the venue, on how well they really enjoyed having the space and everything set up. So thanks for that, for all those involved. And thank you, Mr. Lara, for covering my RCA. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it.
Did I tell you that's bringing back the endangered species?
Yes, I
Okay.
heard
Just wanna
that.
make sure.
You attempted,
Make sure.
but that's yeah, well, but that's all. I appreciate that. That's all, Mayor.
All right, thank you, everyone, and we will adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:37.